Most people think the future of warfare belongs to lasers, stealth jets, hypersonic missiles, and AI-controlled drones. But there is one weapon so powerful, so fast, and so disruptive that it could rewrite every rule of modern combat. Yet the military rarely talks about it publicly, and even tried to bury it quietly. It is not a nuclear bomb, not a missile, and not a laser. It is something far more futuristic, far more terrifying, and far more revolutionary. This weapon is the Electromagnetic Railgun, a $500 million super project that promised to fire projectiles at over 7 times the speed of sound, using nothing but electricity. At first glance, a railgun looks like a strange metal cannon with rails on each side. But inside those rails is where the magic happens. Unlike normal guns that use gunpowder or explosives to launch a projectile, a railgun uses pure electromagnetic force. 2 long conductive rails create an electric circuit. When a massive current, millions of amps, passes through them, it generates a magnetic field so strong that it launches a metal projectile at unimaginable speeds. No rocket fuel, no warhead, just raw physics. The energy behind each shot is so intense that the projectile can travel over 100 miles and still hit with the force of an exploding bomb simply because of its velocity. The railgun promised to change everything. Imagine missiles that cost millions of dollars each, replaced by kinetic projectiles costing less than $50,000. Imagine a weapon that can hit targets faster than they can react. Imagine a defensive system so strong it could shoot down incoming missiles, eliminate enemy ships, and strike deep into enemy territory, all using nothing but electricity. That's what caught the eye of military planners nearly 2 decades ago. The US Navy poured massive funding into the project. Scientists, engineers, and defense contractors worked around the clock. Billions were spent on prototypes, testing facilities, and research. And the early results looked almost too good to be true. In 2010, one test shot shocked the world. A railgun prototype fired a projectile at Mach 7, over 8,000 kilometers per hour. The kinetic energy released on impact was equivalent to multiple kilograms of TNT, even though the projectile carried 0 explosives. The Pentagon labeled it the future of naval warfare. Navy officers publicly claimed the railgun would be mounted on ships by 2020. Defense journals called it the weapon that would make missiles obsolete. For a moment, it seemed like we were entering an age of pure energy-driven warfare. But then something strange happened. The hype disappeared. The updates and public demonstrations slowed down. The funding that once flowed rapidly suddenly began shrinking. By 2021, the US quietly canceled full-scale development of the railgun. Almost $500 million had been invested, and yet the project was shelved without a clear explanation. And that's where the mystery begins. Why would a weapon with so much potential, cheaper, faster, more powerful, and harder to intercept, suddenly be abandoned? Experts have several theories, and none of them are simple. The first reason is the brutal physics behind the weapon. A railgun fires projectiles using so much electrical current that it literally tears itself apart every time it fires. The rails erode. The barrel melts. The magnetic forces twist the structure. After only a few shots, the weapon needed repairs. The Navy wanted something that could fire hundreds of rounds in combat, not a cannon that breaks after 5 shots. Engineers kept improving the design, but the core physics remained. The energy required, 20 to 30 megajoules per shot, is like powering an entire neighborhood for an instant. Only a few ships could generate that much electricity. The second reason, the military began shifting to hypersonic missiles. While railgun projectiles travel at similar speeds, missiles offer long-range precision and don't require massive power systems. So the Navy started redirecting funding to hypersonic programs instead. But even that explanation doesn't answer everything, because railguns are drastically cheaper per shot. Hypersonic missiles cost millions. Railgun rounds cost pennies in comparison. Which brings us to the third and most controversial possibility: secrecy. Some analysts believe that railgun research didn't stop. It simply went black, classified, moved into secret military programs away from public view. Why? because the strategic advantage of such a weapon is enormous. If you could fire dozens of Mach 7 rounds per minute at enemies over 100 miles away, you would dominate any naval battle. You could destroy ships before they even knew they were being targeted. You could shoot down aircraft, drones, and even missiles. It would make traditional missile systems, aircraft carriers, and even submarines far less useful. No great power wants the world to know exactly how advanced they are, and railguns might be too game-changing to advertise publicly. Another factor is global competition. China openly tested its own railgun prototypes and even mounted one on a ship around 2018. Satellite photos leaked, showing a Chinese naval vessel equipped with a massive railgun-like structure. If that weapon works, China could have the most powerful naval gun on Earth. Naturally, the US would not want to publicly admit how far behind or ahead they are. Secrecy becomes a strategic defense. Despite its challenges, the railgun remains one of the most incredible feats of engineering in modern history. It proved humanity could weaponize raw electromagnetic energy. No explosives, no fuel, pure velocity. This means railguns are safer for storage, cheaper to operate, and harder for enemies to intercept. Even a small projectile becomes a devastating weapon when traveling at 7 times the speed of sound. And because there is no explosive warhead, the risk of accidental detonation is almost zero. But railguns are more than just weapons. They are a glimpse into the future of warfare, a world where energy, not gunpowder, is the primary force behind weapons. A world where electricity replaces chemical reactions. A world where the line between military technology and science fiction becomes nearly invisible. Some scientists predict that future railguns will overcome the wear and tear problem using new materials, advanced ceramics, graphene composites, superconductors, and magnetic rails that never touch the projectile. If that happens, the railgun will return more powerful than ever. Others believe railguns will merge with laser weapon systems, creating hybrid platforms that can disable electronics, destroy missiles, and launch hypersonic rounds all from a single ship or land platform. And even if the current US Navy version was shelved, that does not mean the story is over. The technology continues quietly in research labs, university physics departments, and classified defense facilities. In warfare, no idea fully dies, it only evolves. The railgun is too transformative to disappear forever. It represents the next leap in military power, one that could reshape global balance for decades. So the question remains, is the railgun a failed dream, a classified success, or a future superweapon waiting for the right moment to return? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, the world has not seen the last of electromagnetic weapons. The $500 million investment was not a waste. It was the beginning of a new era. If you want more videos about hidden military technology, secret weapons programs, and the real stories behind the world's most advanced systems, make sure to subscribe to the channel. The future of warfare is changing fast, and you don't want to miss what's coming next.